Our next step is we're going to sand those down flat. So what we have to do, because normally in this wide belt sander I have a very rough grit. I have 80 grit sandpaper, and that's too rough for what we're doing. So we need to change the paper in the sander, and you're one of the very few classes that I'm going to show this to. So we open up the door, and you can see the belt. It's right here. We need to get it out. So step one is down here at the bottom, or my hand, right at the bottom of the screen. There's a latch, and you're going to unscrew it. It's pretty tight, so give it a good yank. Unscrew it, jiggle it until you figure out how to get it out. It just pops straight out. Then this little piece of metal, where that goes into, just pulls out. Now that it's not there, slide it out. Now the belt can come out. Now as you're pulling, usually it hits the edge down at the bottom. So all I do is I usually will lift and then drop and lift and drop a little bit up and down and pull, tug a little gently till I feel it release and I can pull it out. And it just pulls straight out like that. I'm going to set that to the side. And then we'll grab the other belt, which is found next to the bandsaw, just over to my right where I am. Okay. So this one, same look of belt, but if you look inside, it's hard to maneuver this for the camera, but right on the side here, you're going to find some arrows, and I know they're hard to see. Those arrows are pointing in one direction. In my case, it's going to my left. Those arrows need to point downward when you put it in the machine, because the belt goes this way. So I need it to go downward. If I put it in backwards, it tends to shred. So I'm looking at the arrow, and if I pick it up and shove it in that way, the arrow will indeed go down on that back side. So I put my arm inside of it, like this, and we're gonna hook it on the top. So now the top is hooked up there. Now I literally stick my head inside and kind of maneuver it around the two cylinders at the base. And you just move the paper until it wraps around those two cylinders, and you spin a little bit and go up and down until you feel it go in. Remember, above all, don't shove, because we don't want to crimp the paper. We don't want to bend it, okay? And then push it all the way in. Now I go most of the way in, because on the other side, it's important we get it between a fork, and I'll show you that right now. So here's the fork I'm talking about. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can see that I'm on the opposite side of the sander. So as we go back in, here's the fork. Right here are the two tines. This paper has to go between the tines. So as I pull it in, you can see that it's going there. Now, if it's on the outside, if you put it in like that, and the tines are on the outside, when you turn it on, it will shred the belt. This tine will dig into the paper and it'll chop it off and it'll ruin the belt. So just push it back a little, pull it in, and then make sure it's in between. What this does, these forks, is there's air pressure that goes between this hose and this one. And when that air line is cut off with the belt, the machine knows to send it back to the other side. So it's actually going back and forth as you're sanding. So that's the reason that this has to be between the tines. It shreds. So get it in between, shut the door, go back to the other side. Now the belt is in, but we need to make sure it's in enough. This little device right here that sticks out, it's kind of on a spring and it's flexible. It needs to be past the base of this. So push it in just past the end of this device and you'll turn the air on. So I did mention before, but if the air is running, the belt is pulled tight. This, by flipping this switch, that will take the air out. Even if it's on the front, this will collapse and then you can pull it in and out. So you'll turn the air back on eventually. First, let's put these back in, okay? So we slide this in first, line up the hole, then we take our handle and that slips down inside, and then you tighten it. Now you don't need to just whack it with your hand, just push it tight and that's it. Now we're going to take your sides and run them through the wide belt sander to the proper thickness. Now the sander already has the air on, I can hear it hissing in the back. We cut these to 0.125. So first we check, let's go ahead and set it like we always do, see how thick the machine says it is. We put it under the knob and raise it till it stops. Okay. So it says it's a hair less than 1/8 of an inch, which is fine. It's pretty close. We need to sand these down to about 0.08, give or take. So it could be 0.09, 0.07. So there is a little bit of variation. but my ideal is 0.08, somewhere in that range. So you just start sanding it down wherever it says and get it down. Keep sanding both sides, get any burns off that you may have seen until it's at about 0.09 to 0.07 thick. Always make sure to take a look in the light. So I want to look in the spotlight that we have, no scratches. I don't want to see any teeth marks from the table saw, no burns, that kind of thing. Now we do the same thing. You want to bend it just a little and see if you hear any cracking. I didn't hear any in mine, so we can move on.